All of a sudden we seem to be up to our necks in a serious matter of national security. Although all this talk about interception of secret government messages is still just conjecture at this stage. It would explain a number of things though, wouldn't it? The negotiation Ginny overheard on the omnibus 2 months ago, and the break-in at Windy Bank. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Grady in the omnibus with Mr. McGilder. No, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker who was so horribly murdered. Mr. Milverton, Mason Milverton. If only there was some link between the two men somehow. I know, but Mr. Graham's testimony seems to be as watertight as ever. I wonder if the key to us making headway with his cross-examination here could be those two brothers, ja sind sie doch. Our mere communication of that couldn't possibly see confidential government information. Besides, the sound produced by the universe and in Moscow was some low-class brickmaker negotiation with McGill anyway, was it not? I have no relation to the man. Und da kommt jetzt die Objection. Objection! Mr. Ashley Milverton, tell me, why did you try to hide your former name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's a real explanation at all. The truth is, you had a reason to hide that name. Explain yourself, please, counsel. I have here the note from the omnibus case, my lord. And as we all know, the victim, the man who we now understand to have been negotiating with McGilder. Yes, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. That's right, only Mason wasn't his surname at all. It was his given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Do you mean to say Saints alive? Mr. Ashley Milverton, is it not the case that the brickmaker, Mr. Mason Milverton, was your father? I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you joined the civil service, and it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. Ugh. The truth is, you have been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it on to McGill in collaboration with your father. Damn. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of his evidence of this witness, Lloyd, all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say, that you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealing with Magnus McGilder. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes, stealing information being sent in secret government communications and selling it on to Mr. McGilder. Mr. Graydon concocted this elaborate scheme of using two music box discs to encode the information, as presumably a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credit whatsoever. But the deal with Mr. McGilder ensued, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGilder managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned of the situation, he appeared at the Windy Bank 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the two articles McGilder had placed in pawn there. Get good, but that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbroker. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? Eh? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Windybank was killed. The intruder to the pawnbroker retouched one item and one item alone, the music box. as rather ingenuously demonstrated using the two points from the security camera indeed. So, the question that naturally begs answering is this: why was only that one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contains a second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since, if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny that all of this actually began on that fateful night 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir, there appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. What? Ah! Oh, lol. 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windy Bank's pawnbrokery. One took the life of the pawnbroker himself. One struck the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of his shop, having first pieced the arm of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound on your arm that you seem to be trying to hide, it's a bullet wound, isn't it? He's got ya now, me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Ah, okay. Don't acknowledge my presence here under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember? And I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think I could trust some common bag-slum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windy Banks that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me. And as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets, negotiating with Mr. McGilded. As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of this. Okay. He's not going to go down without a fight, not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brother's gun hit by the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windybank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon on the arm. Indeed, must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windybank was shot by a 3rd gun, which can only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Goodness! Oh yeah. That's right, Mr. Graydon. Ugh. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank that night is you!
Hold it!
Okay, ich dachte, das wäre schon jemand anderes, aber okay. Ha. You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. Das sieht eher wie ein Kaffeefleck aus als ein Blutfleck, ganz ehrlich. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbrokers. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed a crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting? I saw it all. I saw the very moment that pickpocket girl pointed the gun at that poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. You... What? Das ist eine Lüge. Das ist dein letzter Ausweg. Order! Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes. I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it shows that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as a killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. Okay, mal gucken, was er zu sagen hat. Witness testimony. The moment of the shooting. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When Windy banged through Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. Hat er nicht den anderen über den Ringo über den Counter geworfen? Meine ich eigentlich. I pursued the man, but he shot himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door though. The accused, in a black coat, shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood splatter all over that wedged girl. Then she tossed the gun under the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Das stimmt ja nicht. Oder? Good gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Order! It wasn't my intention to testify in this. Was hat er gesagt? So the blood spattered all over the wedged girl, then she tossed the gun of the people, so I picked it up and made my escape. I pursued the man, but he shot himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. Often were jostling with the broker, was still near the entrance to the shop. Aber sie hatte die Waffe doch in der Hand. It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. It's the truth. Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood spattered over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat the pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If a coat should somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be inconclusive evidence here. Okay. Crime scene photograph. Okay. If a coat somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that could be a conclusive evidence here. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's to true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as a basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used, with your lordship's permission. We could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, you know. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Ginny's coat. Das stimmt, ja, aber es gehört ja zu dem, Wigmaker und nicht zum Pawnbroker. If they test it with a chemical... Oh hell, you're right. I was forgetting about what happened yesterday. Don't move, Ginny. I'm going to shoot. But that's not Mr. Windybank's blood. That stain is from 2 months ago. That Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by McGilded, who was wearing the coat at the time. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Panzius, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. And while we await the results, defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find the blood on the overcoat, Gina will be... Counsel! Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. If this cross-examination doesn't go well, if I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. Cross-Examination. The moment of the shooting. Ich speichere mal, dann präsentieren wir gleich die Waffe, weil sie hatte die ja in der Hand, oder nicht? While these ruffians were jostling with a broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the doorway. The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun over the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape.
Objection!
Nee, hä? Let's just consider the implication of the statement from shall we? Okay, dann pressen wir doch erstmal. Ach so, ja, weil die dritte Waffe, ne? Weil es die dritte Waffe gibt, natürlich. The moment of the shooting. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop.
Hold it!
Mr. Windybank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Wingo and Nash were skewing the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in all my life. Yeah, we're regular mild-mannered burglars, that's all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so he assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help with the bluff, but the old geezer chucked me over the bloomin' counter. So I pulled the gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scarper. The pair of you setting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you! Sorry, Gus. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm.
Hold it!
You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize that what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the three men were brawling. It was exactly that moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar in the wall behind you. So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Being as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine I would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Windybank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled the gun on him, he tried to shove me out the way. And then he scampered through that door out back. At which point, what did you do? I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the people in the door though.
Hold it!
You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I went after him to the back of the shop. And what about these people in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom door's a solid job, made of stout wood. But there's a small opening in it about head height that lets you see what's what in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that. I shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through the peephole as well? Not likely, Guff. Didn't see nothing of the sort, Guff. I doubt these two buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Skycam brothers were there, but they didn't see this killing of Mr. Windybank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there. The defendant? Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl waved her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? The accused, in a black coat, shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety.
Hold it!
Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with the gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Windybank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Grady, that bullet was fired at you. Ah, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Windybank's gun grazed my arm, and yes, the Skycan's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely, the third gun. Okay. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time.
Objection!
But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry? You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then, all of a sudden, the broker turned to one, and it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say. I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl.
Hold it!
All over her? Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, with the coat being such a dark color. But as I assure you, that garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Windybank's blood, is it? No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGilded stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Haben wir es denn in unserem... Nee, haben wir gar nicht, aber okay. We can't use it as evidence to support our case. Bother. Then she tossed the gun at the people, so I picked it up and made my escape.
Hold it!
Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room. That's why. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? In the direction of the storeroom door, to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door. But why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Yes, it was yours truly. Und warum hat er es dann nicht der Polizei gegeben? Ist die Frage. I left the key up to my leckery and left. Das ist ja auch irgendwie tampering with the crime scene, ne? Clear up. It made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistle and Flute here told us to tidy up. He thinks he's our blossoming mom sometimes. Blooming mom. Well, I was paying you enough, by God. Tell me, Mr. Gray, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with a second disc in your jacket pocket? You're like a bull at the game, aren't you? Was macht ihr da?
Excuse me!
Gentlemen. Something wrong, Sunshine. That shouldn't be my line. That should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin. Klemme, that he's a bit of an hooligan, ain't he? That was going on just now. You saw him, he grabbed me whistle. Why the blazes, he said. Didn't ya mention the third gun when we got ya down the station? And why didn't you? Cause we didn't know nothing about it. Or that flaming people in the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my wag sometimes. Not hurt, are you? God blimey, see the way he's looking at me. I'm telling ya, the steel gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Rexy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, I was. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character. My lord! Requesting your lordship permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. I have the results of the test that was ordered earlier, my lord. Oh no. Ah, the blood on the accused's overcoat. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. Uh-oh. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of spattering following a gunshot wound. End of report. Goodness me. See? What did I tell you?
Objection!
No, the blood on that coat is not Mr. Windybanks. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGildet. Just before his coat was deposited at Windybanks, Mr. McGildet had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood on that overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Objection!
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Japanese friend? Sorry? 2 months ago, in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilder's innocence? And yet, now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. Ah, but that was... I call it a body disgrace, treachery, that's what it is. Now to determine whether the blood on the coat is 2 months old or not. Even a stereoscope couldn't have the answer to that problem pop out. It can't be done. But we used Mr. Sholmes specially... Mr. Sholmes the detective, not the chemist. Would you put such faith in a chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held out Pirosky to Starving Boy, and he ran away crying. Sherlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom. No weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? As the witness said, the accused coat was spattered with blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. Oh, scheiße, ey. Ah! My lord! Been a long battle this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman. As of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Oh, bitte nicht wieder eine summation examination. Ready, man. All for one now. Sir.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Oh no. Oh man. Well, it would appear the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached an unanimous verdict. Und jetzt zum dritten Mal ein. Das ist doch unfair für die Staatsanwaltschaft. Da würde ich mich doch verarscht vorkommen. The defense has consistently failed to unpick his witness testimony. Here's to any attempt you may make at unpicking the jurors' decisions being equally successful. Wow! I don't believe it. After I've come so far. How is it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing. Oh, what? To be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Bitte? Officer, you've delivered the report now. That will be all. Thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh nein, ist es der, wo ich denke, der es ist? That scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? Nice. Mr. Sholmes, what is the meaning of this? Sherlock comes to save the day. Order! 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 What business do you have here, detective? The last I heard, you were recuperating in hospital. As well I would be. I had not been set upon an errand. What errand? As well I would be. Okay. Hurley, it's really you. You're awake at last. Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what manner, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give to the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Francis? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly! Having spent so long already, we don't want to go wasting any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Very well then. Counsel, you have 5 minutes.